So one of like the biggest things that I've been learning these past few weeks is like how beneficial having a deadline is for when you're memorizing. Because basically, growing up, I didn't really have any urgency to memorize, and I wasn't placed in any school or something like that. It wasn't really until recently where I had this desire to memorize, and that's really the main thing that being in a school or something like that gives you, right? It's not necessarily that you can't really memorize by yourself. Like most of the memorizing is actually done by yourself, right? You really just revise to your teacher, or they read it out to ensure you're pronouncing things correctly. But what I've learned is just the environment, right? The environment makes you like have these deadlines. Okay, I need to finish this by this or something like that. I remember even in like school, if you're in like a language class, the only reason that you would like learn the language is because you had deadlines on assignments and you had to complete this, or just the only reason you would learn any topic is because of deadlines. Without deadlines, if you're really just going solo, it's really hard to self-discipline yourself, right? Because naturally you're just going to do the like lowest amount of effort, or you're just going to procrastinate. That's really just human nature. So if you're in a similar situation as me where you're working or you're in school, but you also do have the desire to pursue hifd, my biggest like one of the biggest pieces of advice is to join some kind of like, or to hire some kind of hifd coach or something that gives you a deadline, right? And it's really just reinvesting into yourself, because without those deadlines, I'm telling you just from experience, like I was memorizing way, way slower before I had an online teacher compared to when I do have an online teacher, right? Because you have an expectation in your head that, oh, okay, I have to finish this by this day. And we have an online program, by the way, to replicate this. So feel free to 100% join that. It's totally free. And inshallah, it'll kind of replicate that same kind of urgency for you to pursue your hifd like on a timely manner. Because I remember when I was operating without a teacher, without someone giving me deadlines, what would happen is essentially I would like some days I would struggle. So most days I would probably just like kind of delay it. Or I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna get to it tonight. I'll memorize a little bit tomorrow, whatever. And you just kind of keep pushing it because there's no one forcing you. There's nothing really at the end of the day, something like this it's not really mandatory. It really just comes down to like your environment or your self-discipline. But if you really rely on your discipline, eventually you're just gonna burn out. If you're kind of just in this floating state where, okay, some days I'll memorize or some days I won't memorize, you're really never gonna finish, or you're gonna take extremely, extremely long, way longer than it needs to be. If you really just kind of get on top of yourself and crack down yourself, and you have these like written schedules, you have these systems in place where you're in a program, you're on online, you have some kind of teacher, or like you're in our community where there's like meetings and stuff hosted weekly where you can join and you present what you've memorized, and you'll be told like, okay, I need to memorize this much, or this is the expectation, or this is the pace that most people are going at. It puts you in a whole different kind of level of progress. So the thing I'm really learning about is like if you wanna pursue these goals, you can't be afraid to like reinvest in yourself. You can't be afraid to put these systems in place, because it's only gonna make you make progress way faster. I remember I used to think like really ignorantly, like what is this person gonna tell me that like I couldn't just find on YouTube, or I couldn't just like learn via some kind of course online, or just ask ChatGPT or something like that, just in these ways. But the real thing is that you don't join these programs, you don't join these things online, you don't hire these online teachers to teach you really anything. That's not really the main benefit that I found, right? The main benefit is that it puts you in a state of urgency. Like it makes you operate way quicker. So it's kind of like to grab your own nafs and like force it to do something you don't really want to do, or something that's you're delaying. The best way to do that is by changing your environment, right? If I were to like maybe just drop one of us right now from our little, corporate systems or our little Western systems, and I just dropped you in like Mauritania and some like memorizing school or something, you would obviously progress way faster. And you're the same person. It's just the environment that's changed that makes you like think differently, that makes you behave way differently. So you need to try your best to like replicate that environment, like whatever you can, even from like the stuff you watch, right? The stuff that you watch online, like I said, the programs you're in, everything, like if you're really on that goal, everything should be surrounding that goal. If your goal is hifd, you try to make as much things that enter your mind revolving hifd, right? Even just by listening to the Quran throughout the day, you want to really like put these systems in place, because that's what I found is like how you actually make progress. If you're in that little floating zone where, it seems like a cool idea, and some days you memorize like some verses and all like that, it's going to take way longer, where if you were to go all in on it, man, you make way more progress. The thing that I'm learning is whatever you think is kind of normal is what you will do, right? If so your whole environment is saying, okay, just memorize 1 page per day or something like that, you'll memorize 1 page per day. If you were in an environment saying memorize 3 pages per day, over enough time, you'll start memorizing 3 pages per day. So the goal is like to manufacture an environment to kind of breed that competitiveness, to breed those systems where you're not just kind of relying on yourself. Because I remember when I was relying on myself, I thought memorizing like 3 verses a day was good. And then I got an online teacher and I kind of saw, oh wait, well, this is what expected. And I surrounded myself more about people who are also doing this. And I was like, wait, that's not really anything, right? There's some people doing 3 pages a day, right? There's some people way more serious about it. So it kind of changes the way you think about not only what you could do, but when in turn, like the effect of that is that it makes you make way more progress. Like you'll progress way faster when your whole environment is doing this, when you have like you structured your whole kind of system around it. And it's really a lot of what you think about is just surrounding your goal, right? So if you want to replicate this feeling, feel free to join our community. The link is in the description. And also feel free to join the Zoom calls inside the program because that will not only just help you in terms of like the actual memorization, what you memorize in terms of pronunciation and tajweed and stuff like that, but also breeds that kind of competitive environment that will make you want to memorize way more than you probably are right now. But yeah, Sam,